Well, the Calgary Flames scored twice. They scored two more goals that were wiped off the board by the referees. Well, maybe one and a half, depending on how you look at the second one. And in the end, the Anaheim Ducks get 3 goals from Michael Granlund, the brother of former Flames draft pick Marcus Granlund, and they defeat the Calgary Flames 3-2 in overtime. Mike Gould and Bobby Germany, Robert Munich himself with you on tonight's edition of the Afterburner, a presentation of Bet365. Hockey fans, check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. And jump in the chat with the Superchats, proceeds from which go to the Youth Centers of Calgary, a place where kids are welcomed and accepted as they are, a place where they can get a break from the chronic stress that is the reality for many of their lives, and where they can flourish through connections and fun. And Bobby, it looked like the Flames were going to win a 5th straight game at home. They were really, really close, and a lot of fans felt conflicted about it. In the end, they give up a late goal. Maybe it was recompense for the perhaps unjust goal that they scored to take a 2-1 lead with an Anaheim Ducks player splayed on the ice. And they lose this one in overtime, setting the stage for an interesting remainder of the stretch drive.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, I'm right there with a lot of fans saying this is the worst time to go on a winning streak, on a point streak. Literally the worst time you could possibly do this. Why couldn't you have done this at the beginning of the season? Like, God damn it. At the same time, though, I will say this has actually probably been the most entertaining stretch of Flames hockey we've had all year, just in terms of just pure entertainment value, goal scoring, playmaking, all those types of things. It's actually been kind of fun to watch the Flames right now. And Zayne is stepping up and making some nice plays. And Gridin has been fantastic. And just, you know, from an entertainment standpoint, it's been pretty good. But at the same time, it's like, please stop. Please stop what you're doing immediately.
Bobby, they're getting shots, they're getting chances, they're getting all kinds of looks. Matty Coronado and Yegor Sharangovich both had 7 shot attempts tonight. They were both very, very dangerous throughout the night. They had lots of chances. The Flames end up getting 2 goals. They had a goal taken away earlier in this game. They have now had, well, depending on how you want to count the Klapka goal, they've had a referee stand at center ice and cross the arms and say no goal 6 times on this 5-game homestand so far. 2 of them have taken away goals by Yegor Sharangovich, who I think is going to set a record for the most points taken away in a single season this year. But nevertheless, I think overall what we saw tonight from, again, most of the members of this Flames team, it was a complete effort once again. And if this is the kind of hockey that you're going to see in a stretch drive, coupled with the still very realistic possibility of getting a high draft pick, I mean, it's kind of the best of both worlds if you can swing it in the right way. And of course, the Flames are the NHL's worst road team, and they still have a very daunting 6-game swing ahead of them against some very difficult teams.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not overly worried about them winning a ton of games between now and the end of the season because of what you just said. The schedule's a gauntlet. I know Vegas isn't playing very well, but the Flames playing in Vegas are an unmitigated disaster. And then you got 3 games against Colorado. You know, they struggle against Utah. They got Dallas in there. So, yeah, overall, they're going to lose a bunch of games here between now and the end of the season. They're basically guaranteed almost to finish in the bottom 4 if they lose the amount of games that I think you think they're going to. So they're going to have a half-decent chance at the first overall pick in terms of the odds. So to me, like, obviously you want to finish in that 31st slot just to give yourself the best chance possible. And then also have, you know, the number 4 overall pick as like your lowest outcome. Because then I just taking a look at the draft right now, I think there's like a clear tier of 4 players at the top. You know, it's kind of Stenberg and McKenna, kind of 1, 2, and then you got Carson Karls and Chase Reed kind of as that 3, 4, or Keaton Verhoff, depending on however you look at it. So if you can kind of get in that top 4, top 5, I think you'd be pretty happy with this draft. But yeah, they're going to end up losing some games here on the road for sure.
Well, and you know, the thing is, Ivar Stenberg as well is going to be a fascinating one to watch at the draft. Sort of has followed an inverse trajectory to Gavin McKenna, where this is a guy who hasn't scored a goal in over a month. Mm-hmm. And so I really do wonder if it is going to be as defined a top 2 as everybody expects that it will be. Especially with the Vancouver Canucks already having Viggo Bjork's older brother rather in their system. Vancouver falls to 3 or Vancouver falls to 2. I think we could see something that surprises us a little bit. So we'll see. These drafts are never set in stone, and the Flames, I think, still have a very good chance of getting a very premier player available at the top. And one of the reasons, Bobby, that it is difficult to complain is that so much of what we've seen from the Flames this year, or pardon me, especially in the last month, has been fueled by the young guys. And we want to talk first about the goals that actually counted tonight. And Matvei Gridin scored his 5th goal of the season on a beautiful pass by Oli Matta, who we'll get into in a little bit, but has been on a crazy run since joining the Flames from the Utah Mammoth in the Mackenzie Weegar trade. Obviously, there's the element of Pavel Mintyukov being down and out on the ice. Should they have blown the play down? It's hard to say. By the letter of the law, this is the kind of situation where the play's supposed to continue. And so, ethically, you can maybe say, ooh, that's a bit of a tough one. By the same token, though, you play until the whistle. And Matvei Gridin scores a beautiful goal. And, Bobby, I want to get your thoughts on this. And then after you're done, I have a player comparable that I want to debut for our buddy Matvei Gridin. Go ahead.
I can't wait to hear that. Yeah, no, Gridin. Okay, so first of all, when it comes to the rule, seeing Mintyukov on the ice there, they got to change that rule.
You think so?
He takes a puck up high. Like, it looked like it could have been a pretty serious injury. I don't know if he returned. I know he was in the hallway trying to come back. But when a guy is in that much pain, that much agony, he takes a puck up high, like, you should blow the play dead. I know the Flames were buzzing. They're getting chance after chance there, but at the same time, player safety is probably the number one most important thing when it comes to this stuff, especially in a meaningless game like this. Anaheim essentially has the division locked up. Calgary's done. So I thought that they should have probably blown it dead. But like you said, letter of the law, I think the referee handled the situation right, but they should definitely change that rule. But when it comes to Gridin, man, that release is just something else. Hey, we saw it earlier in the game when, he had that kind of patient play. He dangled through a couple ducks, ripped one off the post with using that incredible release. He did it again, this time kind of on a one-timer. Wasn't like a slap shot one-timer, just kind of a grab it and release type of thing. And yeah, it was fantastic. Gridin, I think he's turning in, him and Devin Cooley, I think they're turning into the 2 best stories of the season for the Flames right now. I'm loving watching this kid. He's fantastic.
No disagreements there. And, with Matvei Gridin, I've struggled all year to lock down the comparable that I sort of have in mind for this guy, because there have been different ones that have sort of flitted in and out of my mind. And I'm trying to think of, relevant to now. So, you think about guys like Marian Hossa, and, Hossa was a bigger guy and played in a different sort of time. Hockey wasn't quite as fast. But a lot of similar attributes. That's one that I've thrown out there in the past. But I got a better one, I think. I've seen people talking Pavel Bure, and that just to me feels completely wrong. Not even a good analog. He's not the burner. He maybe doesn't have the slick deeks. I mean, he's got good hands, but he's not that kind of player. And we don't want to go too over the board, too crazy, because those guys are both Hall of Famers, right? We want to temper our expectations a little bit. So here to me is a modern comparable for Matvei Gridin, a contemporary, if you will. Okay. And this is a guy who I've watched very closely over the years. Broke into the NHL 4 seasons ago as a guy who, was in the same season. Do you know who it is?
I think I got it now.
You think you got it? Okay. Give me the first letter of his first name.
D.
Bingo. So broke into the NHL as a 19-year-old and just immediately had this poise. And when he carried the puck, he could really skate with it and did not look like he was going to get bumped off the puck. There's some guys who, when they get the puck on their stick, it looks like a grenade. And with Matvei Gridin, it is completely stuck to his blade. And over the years, he has developed into a complete player, a great offensive player. Maybe not quite complete yet. Maybe needs to develop a little bit more to his game. But when I see Matvei Gridin, I see Dylan Guenther. That's the guy who I see. And
yeah, I like that.
The ascension with Dylan Guenther has been so impressive to watch. Not a Hall of Famer, maybe not even a superstar yet, although he's a very, very good young player. But to me, just the skating stride, the shot, the overall poise and size and ability to box off opposing players, they're 2 peas in a pod for me.
Yeah, and Gridin actually might be better at protecting pucks. He actually might have like the stronger lower body compared to Guenther, but I like that comparison. The shot, you're bang on. Both guys just have a lethal shot. The release is incredible. Guenther might have the one-timer. I don't think we've seen Matvei Gridin rip one-timers yet.
We saw it tonight.
I'm talking like kind of like a slap shot one-timer on the power play type of thing. But yeah, I think it's a really good comparison. Man, if he could turn into a guy like Guenther, That would be a grand slam home run at 28th overall. That would be massive.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how these teams are building, and yeah, Gunther is a guy who, you look at the Cooley Gunther duo, and we saw the Gaudreau Monahan duo, and the interesting thing is that we saw Monahan as the main goal scorer on that line, and he was the center, and Gunther is a winger, Gridin's a winger, and the Flames. I think in the next couple drafts here. Here's the thing, though. Here's the crazy thing to me. Is that if you are going to get a center in this draft, there is one center. I've said all year that I don't feel all that comfortable with drafting centers in this year's draft because I think any of them are going to be overdrafted. But if you do draft a center, you might as well go for Viggo Bjork. And Viggo Bjork may be the most stylistically comparable center to the Logan Cooley in this draft. So it's just a comparable. It doesn't mean anything. It's just sort of just a thought experiment. But I mean, that's part of what watching hockey is about. You want to compare, you want to be better, you want to be the best, right? So, just a thought that I had watching tonight's game is that boy, that guy reminds me of number 11 in Utah.
I'll throw out a couple comparisons too, because just for the sake of it, I was listening to Steinberg the other day, and he was saying like Kucherov and Hossa, and I'm like, that's pretty high praise. I mean, those are two future Hall of Famers. I don't know if he's gonna be quite that good. But a couple of the guys that stuck out for me was Adrian Kempe out of Los Angeles. Similar size, kind of similar build, great hands, great shot. I think Kempe's a little meaner. He's a little more aggressive and physical than Matvei Gridin is at this point, but Gridin could always develop that part of his game as he gets older and stronger. So that was kind of one comparison I was looking at. The other guy I was thinking was Philip Forsberg. Similar player to Kempe, just without the physicality, but the hands are incredible. The shot is incredible. He's got that ability to make plays and shoot the puck, both at an extremely high sort of elite level. And I see Gridin more as a 70 to 80 point guy in the prime of his career. I don't know if I see the 90 to 100 points. And, I think your Gunther one was kind of in that same sort of area there. So yeah, those are a couple other guys I might compare him to as well.
I like it, Bobby. And I mean, another thing with those two guys, I mean, Gunther was 9th overall in 2021, Forsberg 11th overall, and Kempe 29th. And of course, the Flames got Matvei Gridin at 28, I believe, in the deal with Elias Lindholm from Vancouver. So, it's exciting. It's good to have a player who is breaking in and being, immediately effective for the Calgary Flames at such a young age. And it doesn't feel like he's in the right place at the right time getting these goals. I remember when Sven Baertschi came up and he got a couple of chintzy ones. And this just feels like a guy who is legit. Now, this is kind of funny, is the Flames make that trade with the Utah Mammoth earlier this season. And we did see Mackenzie Weegar score his first goal as a member of the Utah Mammoth tonight in a 7-4 loss to the Washington Capitals. Utah is kind of suddenly looking a little precarious to me. Their game against LA on Saturday is a really, really, really big one all of a sudden, with LA beating Vancouver tonight. But the other guy in that deal, obviously it was Weegar for 3 second-round picks. No firsts, 3 seconds, kind of an unorthodox type of deal. Jonathan Castagna, who we expect will sign with the Flames once he's done at Cornell this year, and Oli Matta. And Oli Matta is on some kind of heater. I would say this is the Daniil Miramonov stretch drive from 2 years ago on steroids, but it also feels like there's a bit more dimensionality to Oli Matta's game.
He's got 8 points in 11 games since joining the Flames. That's a 60-point pace over 82. Mackenzie Weegar has 4 points since joining Utah. Rasmus Andersson has 8 points in 23 games since joining Vegas. Oli Matta is outscoring both of these guys. It's insane. And when they originally acquired him, I watched a little bit of Utah last season, and he was very good for Utah last year. He's exactly what they needed. They had a bunch of injuries on the back end, and he really helped stabilize that group. And I think he got sat for 22 straight games this year, so I don't really know what happened, but I watched him at the Olympics. I'm like, he looks really good. And then he comes to Calgary, and we're told that he's this defensive defenseman, stay-at-home guy. He had 2 points all year in Utah. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be kind of another Zach Whitecloud type of guy, pure defensive defenseman, shutdown guy. He's jumping up in the rush every shift. He's leading rushes. He's making plays. He's making these beautiful cross-ice, tape-to-tape passes. What the hell has gotten into this guy? It's insane. I can't believe how good he's been.
It's all about distressed assets, Bobby. That's my buzzword of the season is distressed assets. The Calgary Flames have gotten so many draft picks, but if there's one thing that I believe personally set up, like I just mentioned, Utah, set up what we've seen from Utah over the last couple of years, which again, not a perfect product, but definitely an improving product. There's one thing that set them up well. I think it was their weaponization of distressed assets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to compare Oli Matta to Shane Gostisbehere because they're two completely different players. But I am reminded of when Shane Gostisbehere went from being a guy who was traded with a pick to being a guy who was traded for picks. And with Oli Matta, I think he was definitely included in the Uyghur deal as a quote unquote means to an end. And all of a sudden I'm sitting here looking and saying, Oli Matta, $3.5 million for the next 2 years after this one kind of feels like an asset. Not just for the Calgary Flames to be able to usher guys into the league, but also as, oh, wow, by the time that Oli Matta is a pending UFA, we won't have any guys who we have to retain on. We can retain on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's super cool. Obviously, he's running a bit of a bender as far as his shooting percentage is concerned. His on-ice percentage, it's not going to last to quite this extent. But he was the second start tonight, and I think very well deservedly so. He's been fun to watch.
Another crazy thing is another cast off, another cap dump from Anaheim, Ryan Strome. He's got 7 points since joining the Flames. Nazem Kadri is 6. He's outscored Nazem Kadri, who's playing in Colorado with some of the best players in the world. It's unbelievable what's happening. It is unfortunate timing, but at the same time, it is nice to see these guys come in and, they get a role and they take advantage of it. And like you said, I think they could probably trade Ryan Strome for, next year for at least maybe a third or a fourth. They trade a seventh to get him. If you could turn that into a third or fourth, it's great asset management. Oli Matta, like you said, maybe if he can keep up, he's not going to keep up this level of offense, but if he can keep up this level of consistency and kind of steadiness, maybe he could get a second or third round pick. Zach Whitecloud, it was rumored that there were some pretty significant packages proposed to Craig Conroy for Zach Whitecloud. I would assume that would probably be at least a first round pick if they can get something like that for him. Like Craig Conroy is just killing it in bringing in all these different distressed assets, like you said, and now they're pumping up their value. And within the next 2 or 3 years, they can trade them for some pretty significant future-based assets. It's pretty brilliant by Craig Conroy. It really is.
So, Bobby, now we've talked about distressed assets coming to Calgary. And also, just on a side note, Edmonton just beat Vegas in overtime 4-3. Who wanted that game to go to overtime? But not bad news for the Flames' other pick. We talk about distressed assets coming to Calgary and being able to rehabilitate them. Have you gotten any more optimistic over the last 10 or so games that the Flames might be able to rehabilitate one of the distressed assets that they maybe created? Because we've seen, since Ryan Strome came to Calgary, a line with him, Victor Olofsson, and Yegor Sharangovich that I think has been really good at 5-on-5. And obviously, Yegor cannot seem to buy a goal that counts. He's putting his shot on display a little bit more, but the one shot that beat Ville Husso tonight actually didn't even get counted as a shot, unfortunately. But the fact that we're starting to see more out of Yegor, not just in terms of his shot, but in all situations, being used as we've seen him on the PK look dangerous at the other end of the ice. And is there something here where maybe if the Flames are able to massage this right, they can rehabilitate that contract as well?
Yeah, maybe not as early as next year. I think he would have to play like he has like the last 10 games for basically all of next year to sort of rehabilitate his image around the league. But once that contract gets down to, say, 3 years or 2 years, and maybe he does produce at a 20-goal pace in those seasons, yeah, I definitely think that you could be able to trade him, especially with the cap going up. All of a sudden, what's 5.75? That doesn't look too bad when the salary cap's $150 and $120 million. So, yeah, I don't think that it's going to happen, as early as this offseason or even next year. But once that contract gets down to, say, 3 years, yeah, I could see something like that happening for sure.
Oh, Bobby, if those 2 goals counted, all of a sudden he's at 16.
Yeah, he's right up there.
It's crazy to think about it. You talk about, I keep talking about Utah, but I was kind of struck today looking at that cap sheet and seeing JJ Peterka at 7.7 until 2030. It's like these deals, the sticker shocks that we're going to be seeing on some of these deals where JJ Peterka barely has 20 goals this year for 7.7 mil. I think we're going to be seeing a real different look of some of these cap sheets around the league, which is also, I think, going to inflate the value of a legitimate two-way player like Blake Coleman, who is at 4.9. Flames can retain. Now, the interesting thing on Blake Coleman, and I wish I want to hear from Pike eventually. I want to hear some confirmation, is that the Flames have all 3 retention slots used up right now. But I don't know if they're going to be able to retain on Blake Coleman before or if they'll have to wait until July 1st. Because, I mean, by the letter of the law, if you look at it in some ways, once a player's received his last paycheck for the season, is there really anything to retain on anymore? There's some legitimate cloudiness in the language of when exactly the Flames might be able, if they can pull off a Blake Coleman move at the draft, or if it drags into next season. The only problem that I see right now, and we heard it on the broadcast during the game, Pat Steinberg is quite sure the Flames are going to be recalling potentially both of Adar Suniev and Brennan Othman before the end of the season, is the Flames have too many guys.
For sure they do.
Like, where are all these guys going to play? Like, what is Blake Coleman? Even if you move Blake Coleman, you like Victor Olofsson. Do you like him enough to try and pull an Anthony Mantha and sign him to a 1-year deal? But does that even work when you're already trying to rehabilitate Sharon Govich? Does that work when you already have Joel Farabee with 2 years left on his deal? When you have
Jonathan Huberdeau's coming back.
Who have Huberdeau coming back from hip resurfacing? When you have Gridin, who is looking like a star.
Hansik's going to be back in the lineup.
Hanzik is going to be back. Like, you just sort of, you turn every which way, and all of a sudden there's a new guy, coming off the bench, right?
My thing is, if anybody has any sort of ailment or injury, even if it's like pretty minor, you can play through it. Just shut them down.
Yeah.
Shut these guys down. Like, on the broadcast tonight, Kelly Rudy said that, he heard a rumor that Michael Backlund's playing through something. Michael Backlund's 37 years old. Shut him down. Mm-hmm. Like, don't play him anymore. I look at Connor Zary. I mean, that looked like a pretty scary injury. Is there really a point in playing him again? Martin Pospisil's coming off devastating concussions. Is there really a point in continuing to play him? I mean, there's 3 guys right there that you don't necessarily need in the lineup anymore. You can create room. And then, when it comes to Sharon Govich, Olofsson, Klapka, Lomberg, Beecher, all those guys, they can rotate in. One or two of those guys can play a night while Othman and Suniev are in. Like, there's ways to work around this whole thing, in my opinion. Will the Flames do it? I don't know if they're that type of organization who would shut those guys down. It just doesn't feel like a Flames thing to do, because they never even took guys out of the lineup for trade-related reasons. There's ways to do it, but like I said, I don't know if the Flames are actually going to do it.
We shall see. We saw Michael Granlund score 3 on the Flames tonight. I'm not sure if we have the OT winner. It was tough. Zayne Parekh jumps on the ice in OT when he probably shouldn't have. Zach Whitecloud was a little slow to get off. 3 for Granlund. The Flames end up dropping this one. They are now 1 point up on the Chicago Blackhawks with the same number of games played, and 3 points up on the New York Rangers. And here's a look at the last goal, which comes with exactly 1 second left in overtime. I was wondering if we might get to see a repeat of Yegor Kucherov, but instead it was Granlund from up top who hammered it by Devin Cooley, who was really on the top of his game tonight. Holy smokes. Like, good Lord.
Good. Hey, what did you think of Parekh tonight?
I you know what? He was bullied a little bit. The Ducks are a team that has really leaned into meanness under Joel Quenneville. They've gotten a lot of guys who I would describe as wily, and they seem to sort of have that on their checklist tonight of getting into Parekh's face. Now, they ended up losing 2 of their defensemen tonight in Radko Gudas and Minchikov, so maybe it backfired on them. But still, they really got into Parekh's grill for sure. And I do wonder. I mean, we get to see Flames Vancouver coming up next. I do think we'll see Parekh play again in that one. I don't think you're really too worried about playing him against the Canucks. I'm very curious to see if there are any lineup changes for that game. I mean, I can sort of take or leave John Beecher and Lomberg and Klapka and Pospisil. I am really curious to see what this offseason holds for Marty Pospisil. If they, with 3 years at 2.5, I mean, again, it's not a contract that handcuffs you, but he's looked a little out of it since coming back. So yeah, I mean, I think they have the guns to rotate guys back in. I'm curious to see with Yan Kuznetsov what that has to do with Perek as well. If Yan comes back, I mean, the obvious move is to take out Hanley, but do you want to have? I mean, if you're Ryan Huska, do you want to have Perek, Brstevich, and Kuznetsov in at the same time? Probably not. But maybe you're more comfortable than you would have been before you knew what you had in Oli Matta, right? So hard to say. And I'm very curious about what is next. Now, I want to do something here. I want to go a little out of order. We typically have a pretty good order for our show. We typically keep things, in the same sort of sequence. But tonight, with the Flames picking up a point, these games are becoming more and more important. And tomorrow, here's the thing. Tomorrow, something really big is happening because obviously everybody was like, oh, the Flames got a point tonight. That's terrible. Well, tomorrow, guess what? We're going to look at a big couple of games with big, both playoff implications and draft lottery implications from Bet365. If you're tired of waiting for the end of the game to get paid, ready to move on to the next puck drop, Bet365, an official partner of the NHL, has 3-goal early payout. If the team you're riding goes up 3 goals at any point of the game, they'll pay your bet out early. With Bet365, download the app and see what early payout's all about. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. The reason we're getting to this so quick in the show, maybe it's an early payoff, is Chicago against the Rangers, a Flames team tank's dream. These two teams going head-to-head. One of them has to win, Bobby.
One of them's got to get 2 points. Let's hope it goes to overtime. That'd be fantastic.
It might be a 3-point game. Plus 140 for Chicago, minus 165 for the Rangers. The Rangers are favored in this one.
I'm shocked to see that.
Yeah, both the Rangers and the Hawks have only won 4 of their last 10. New York has dropped back-to-back in regulation. Chicago lost tonight. I mean, this is a game tomorrow that just, I mean, if you're a Flames fan saying, ugh, I mean, I was chatting with a Flames fan on social media tonight. I'm not going to name any names, who said that he thought it wasn't out of the woods that the Flames would fall out of the top 10 of the draft. And the reason I disagree, there are multiple reasons why I disagree, but games like this are a big reason for it, Bobby.
Totally. And you know what? With the addition of Anton Frundell to Chicago, I think that's going to give them a nice little boost here between now and the end of the season. I think Frundell comes in and is automatically a top 6 forward in that group. So I could see them maybe picking up a few more points than maybe they would have prior to his arrival. I think he could be that important. So yeah, if you're a Flames fan on Team Tank, I would expect the Blackhawks to put up some points here between now and the end of the season. I have zero hope. I have zero respect for the New York Rangers and the way they're going about their business. And a guy like JT Miller, I cannot stand that guy. I hope they lose from, now until eternity. I cannot stand that team, but I think the Flames are in trouble when it comes to New York Rangers. It feels like 30th is the spot the Flames fans should be looking at, because I think the Rangers are just going to fall off a cliff here.
I think the Flames are going to too, though. We're going to get to the road ahead soon, but I think they're going to be in real tough. The other game tomorrow is Detroit-Buffalo. I think Buffalo's got this one in the bag. I love the Sabres. Big Sabres fan over here. I'm going to be watching all the Sabres playoff games. And Detroit, Bobby.
Oh, I feel bad for those fans, man. I feel bad for those guys.
I feel bad for the fans. I don't feel bad for Steve Yzerman for...
No, I definitely don't feel bad for him.
For signing one-hit Patrick Kane and deciding that was all the forward help his team needed, even when he's a bit of a defensive liability.
Justin Falk is the guy they get at the deadline. I don't think he was the right fit there. I don't know what Steve Yzerman's doing there.
What you said about JT Miller is how I feel about P. Kane. But anyway, they stink 38-25-8. They are 3-5-2 in their last 10. This is 3 years in a row where we have an early setback for Detroit after it looked like they had it all locked up. They blew it. They are in the midst of blowing it. I'm probably going to blow it now for them. They're probably going to go back into it. But for now, looking like an early tea time for showtime in Detroit.
So they're at a 9-year playoff drought, right?
It's a bad team, man. I'm not a fan.
So the Flames are going to get 4 after this season. How long do you think this Flames playoff drought's gonna last? Because I actually think, like Eric Francis on the broadcast was saying, if you build like Anaheim, you might have a 7-year playoff drought. And I was thinking to myself, Eric, they're already in year 4. Like this thing could get to 8-9 pretty quickly here. Like it could get ugly in Calgary.
It could. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Flames don't have a Mo Sider, although Carson Carls,
Yeah,
but
might get one.
but yeah, I mean, with Detroit, it really is an exercise in how uh, you can have a ceiling imposed upon you if you don't go about things the right way. And the Red Wings did not draft high enough. They did not pick a center high enough. Dylan Larkin, God bless him, I don't think has the chops to be a number one center on a cup contender. I think he would be great if the Red Wings had somebody to pair him with, but I don't think they have drafted well enough. Larkin Insider, Raymond Insider aside, and they have been too complacent with the pieces they already have, going after veterans, Justin Hall, Justin Falk, Andrew Kopp, JT Compher, Ben Sherratt, these horrible free agent signings. And it just isn't working. So we'll see. But Larkin's about to be 30. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like we talk about Dustin Wolf, he's 24. And it's like, oh, he's getting a little long in the tooth compared to some of these guys the Flames are about to be drafting. And Dylan Larkin is about to be 30.
Yeah.
Like,
I think he played in the playoffs as a rookie.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been ugly ever since. Yeah. I just look at this Detroit lineup and I just think to myself, it's just so mediocre.
I think the Flames lineup is better than Detroit's lineup right now.
Cool.
Geez,
it's honestly not that far off.
It's not. Like, it's just, yeah. The less said about Detroit, the better. But anyway,
the big thing for them is, like you said, I think they tried to push their chips in way too early. And like you said, they went out and they got Kopp and they went out and got Compher and they spent big money on these guys when that wasn't necessarily the right time to do it. It felt like they still needed maybe a couple more years to bottom out and pick high. And another thing, too, is missing on Quinn Hughes was a franchise-altering decision. They picked Philip Zadina instead of Quinn Hughes, who's playing in their backyard at Michigan.
Yeah.
Missing out on Hughes in that draft killed them.
Well, and you know what else? Bobby? Here's something that sort of is reminiscent of what Calgary did under Treliving is Detroit has drafted a lot of guys who have good pedigree and good trade value, and they have not cashed in on any of them. Mm-hmm. They have held on to a lot of their guys, watched as their value deteriorates, and then has watched as other players who have been traded for similar type pieces have gone on to be big time players. It reminds me of that one infamous tweet that was like, I wouldn't trade Dubé, Mangiapane, and Valimaki for Eichel. Yeah. And we have watched now as Detroit now has sort of seen Philip Zadina and Nate Danielson. Jonathan Berggren, and Nate Danielson's the quintessential one, but a lot of other guys, Marco Kasper, reduce in value to the point where they are basically negligible. And instead of going after trade chips, which are generally, you have to pay to get them. So, they're going to be better players. They have gone the safe route and said, oh, we'll just keep our prospects and we'll sign free agents. Mm-hmm. And so you see them signing horrible contracts for guys who aren't as coveted because, if they were as coveted, they would have been re-signed, right. The JT Comphers of the world. And it's reminiscent of when Calgary went out for Troy Brouwer and James Neal and, Mason Raymond and what have you. And that to me is the same trap that Detroit is falling into now, and a wise trap for Calgary to avoid falling into once they do arrange their new core.
And the thing the Flames need to be careful with too is maybe putting too much value on late first round picks and second round picks. Yes, it's nice to have them, but to essentially rely on them to get you through your next rebuild is a little worrisome. I take a look at, what the Detroit Red Wings have done here. And, their drafting has actually been very poor if you just go and take a look at it. But they have a ton of late first round picks where they take a guy like Joe Veleno who turns into nothing for them. They have a lot of second round picks, a lot of third round picks, and really none of them have really worked out for them at all up to this point in time. So one thing, if I were the Flames, especially for this upcoming draft, when they have these 4 second round picks and they have Vegas's first round pick, package those up and move up into the draft, move up into the top 5, top 10. Pick high-end players in the top 10 and don't rely on trying to find, a diamond in the rough like they did with Ethan Wyttenbach, because that doesn't happen every year. And I think Detroit here is a prime example of why you should look to move up.
4 syllables, and this applies as well to the Flames' existing forward group. Consolidate. You got to consolidate these assets. You can't be making 4 second-round picks in a year You need, like, that's what Detroit did at once upon a time. We saw Detroit take. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. 2023 NHL draft. They make 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. Okay, they take Trey Augustine. Fine. Andrew Gibson. Oof. Brady Cleveland. If you haven't heard about Brady Cleveland, a second-round pick college defenseman who's played at 3 schools in 3 years since he was drafted. Like, it's and has a total of 1 goal in those 3 seasons. And think about the kind of pick they could have gotten if they had traded 17 plus 41 plus 42 plus 47, right? It's just a matter of consolidating. So, there's lots to talk about with Detroit. Buffalo, of course, getting out of the ether, as it were. And there's a look at a couple of big games on tomorrow. Bobby, let's have a look at the road ahead, brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers. If you're looking to dominate off the ice as much as your team does on it, check out the Toyota Tacoma, or as we call it, the Taco. Its standard I-Force engine boasts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever, so whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease with the Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Red Tag Days from March through May. Bobby, not many games left on the road ahead. I don't know. Do you want to take us through it?
Yeah, well, we're starting with the Toilet Bowl here on Saturday when the Vancouver Canucks come to town. I mean, that game, if probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, we might have looked at that and said, hey, this could be important for, positioning for, the first overall 32nd place. That's no longer the case. The Vancouver Canucks are an abject failure, an absolute disgrace to the NHL. They're having the worst home season in the last 30 years. Their points percentage is below 300. They're having a worse year on home ice than the expansion Atlanta Thrashers' first year in the NHL. That is how bad it's gotten for this team. It's crazy.
Bobby, here's something crazy. Just before we get into the road swing, we got the 8-25-5 home Vancouver Canucks. Okay, they're 13-17-3 on the road, coming to play the 20-12-5 at home Calgary Flames. I think they're actually 20-12-5. I'm going to say Vancouver wins.
It could happen. You never know. I mean,
I think they're due.
They still have some half decent players on their roster. Like Marco Rossi's been lighting it up lately, and they still have Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser. I think Besser's got 11 points in his last 10 games. Still have DeBrusk and Bouillon and Pettersson and Hronek. Like, there's still half decent players on the team. I actually don't really understand how they've gotten quite this low in the standings, but they have. And probably it's a good thing for that organization to go down a rebuild road because they've desperately needed one since probably 2012.
Well, and then Bobby, the Flames, who are almost as bad on the road as the Canucks are at home, will go on the road and play 6 games on the same road swing. And these are not particularly easy games. And in fact, it is a rare road swing where they circle back to the same city twice. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens that city is Denver, Colorado.
Hey, if you're on Team Tank, you'll love to hear that. You start with Colorado, then you go into Vegas, where, like I said earlier in the episode, they struggle mightily in Vegas. Like they get destroyed when they go to T-Mobile Arena, and then it's off to Anaheim, and those are usually pretty tight games. All 3 of them have gone to overtime or shootout this season. Then you go into Dallas, who's already secured a playoff spot, back to Colorado, and then into Seattle to face, a pretty scrappy Kraken team. And now with superstar Bobby McMahon, who seems to be leading the league in scoring since he arrived there, he's been a pretty incredible addition, and that's not going to be an easy game either. And that's going to be the last game on a 6-game road trip. And then you come back home the next night to play Utah on a back-to-back, and then it's Colorado and then LA, and then the season's over. So yeah, the finish to the calendar here is a gauntlet. It really is. And I think they're going to lose a lot of games on this road trip.
Bobby, I have a question for you. Vegas lost tonight. They lost to Winnipeg on the 24th. They beat Dallas. They lost to Nashville on the 21st. They've lost a lot of games lately. They are starting to look like a very vulnerable team. By the time the Calgary Flames play against Vegas on April 2nd, is Bruce Cassidy still their head coach?
I think so, just because I don't really know if there's a precedent for changing coaches this late in the year. Is there?
Oh, there is. Yes.
But let's hear it.
This is actually, the thing is, usually when there is something this weird, it's usually a Lou Lamoriello thing. He fired Claude Julien.
Oh, is it the Larry Robinson hire?
No.
No.
So,
okay.
Oh, no, Bobby.
Oh no. Oh God, no.
Just get gear up, Bobby. So Claude Julien was the head coach of the New Jersey Devils, I think, for one season, and not even a full season. He was a head coach for 79 games with the Devils in the 06-07 season. Okay, 3 games left. Devils are leading the Atlantic Division. They're second in the East, and Lou fires Julien and names himself coach.
That's legendary. That's so good.
And then they lost in the second round. So
despite there being precedent now, I still don't think I see that happening in Vegas. Although, you know what, dude, they could probably use a coaching change, and you might think I'm insane for saying this, but like maybe a guy like Daryl Sutter for just the end of the season in the playoffs might help a team like that, because that's the kind of guy Daryl is. In a very short amount of time, he can get a lot of juice out of teams. Once it goes probably after a year and a half, things start to go sideways with him, it seems like. But for one playoff run, I don't think that would be that crazy, especially with a couple of Western Canadian guys running that organization in Vegas.
I highly doubt it, only because that when Daryl came back to Calgary, he did have the soundbite that he said he would only come back if it was Calgary or Chicago.
Right.
But maybe. I mean, it is Kelly McCrimmon. I don't know if I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is a Western Canada connection there, but it's not bad. I was thinking, maybe like you get Peter Laviolette on the phone or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird year for Vegas. And of course, we've talked about the Calgary Flames and their draft pick, and how after tomorrow night, it is virtually guaranteed to be in a better spot because of the Chicago Rangers game. Let's take this opportunity now to check in on the Vegas Golden Knights draft pick. And we will do this courtesy of the Derek Newman Group. This Vegas Golden Knights draft pick check-in is brought to you by the Derek Newman Group. If you're buying or selling a house, condo, townhome, or duplex in Calgary, use the Derek Newman Group. That's DERRICK. You can call them at 403-619-6661, or you can visit them at dereknewmangroup.com. His clients stay with him. He's connected to this city. He volunteers in the community. He has a no-pressure consultative approach to achieving your real estate goals. And Derek Newman is so good at buying and selling different things that if he was the GM of the Vegas Golden Knights, he would not have given away their first-round pick in back-to-back drafts when it was clear they were starting to decline. But here we are. Derek Newman is shrewd. The Vegas Golden Knights, maybe a little bit less so. And here we are. It is March 26th, almost 11 p.m., Bobby. And the Vegas Golden Knights have the 19th most points in the NHL.
Tankathon has them at 18 right now. But they might have not updated their standings after tonight.
They have the 19th most points in the NHL. Oh, no. They have the second worst record of any NHL playoff team.
Yeah.
Ahead of only the ascendant Nashville Predators, who have a game in hand with only 2 points back of Vegas. Oh, no, Bobby. Oh, no.
I feel so bad for Vegas. It's just too bad.
Oh, Bobby.
Being very sarcastic.
Bobby, it tugs at you.
They have 24 regulation wins.
The Flames, season, for the record, have 23.
That's unbelievable. They have 15 loser points this year, the Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, I mean, all you can do is just point around that room and say loser.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bad pun. My mom's going to hate that pun. Sorry. But yeah, no, 79 points in 73 games for Vegas. They're 1 point back of Utah now. Although Utah, they were already behind Utah because Utah lost tonight in regulation. But still, as of today, if the season ended today, Bobby, Vegas, assuming they do not reach the Western Conference Final, which who knows, they might. The West is so bad. But if they don't reach the West Final, Bobby, they would give the Calgary Flames pick 18, which, of course, is the same pick they received in a separate trade last year. These first-round picks traded a couple of years in the future, they're paying dividends.
100%. Yeah, and next year could be even better from a Vegas Golden Knight perspective. You never know. And, I'm just taking a look at Vegas's schedule here. They got Washington, which is not easy, Vancouver, Calgary, but then it's Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle, Colorado, Winnipeg, Seattle. So not a murderer's row by any stretch of the imagination, but with how bad this team is playing, like I've watched Vegas a little bit over the last couple of weeks. They just look very disjointed. they're not connected at all. Watching a guy like Mitch Marner, he's not fitting in there. It's just even Rasmus Andersson has not been a good fit so far. That still has a little bit of time to change, but yeah, they do not look good. And if the Flames could get the 18th or 17th pick overall from Vegas, I really wonder, can you attach 2 of those second round picks to that Vegas one, move up into the top 10, maybe even 3 of the second round picks? I might be kind of interested in if it can get you, maybe pick 5 or pick 6, and then say you get the 3rd overall pick and you take a Carson Karls, and maybe you can move up to 6 or 7, get a Vigio Boric. All of a sudden, you're looking at like a pretty solid haul there in the first round for the Flames. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
Zach Whitecloud played over 25 minutes for the Flames tonight. Does Vegas let Rasmus Andersson walk and then reacquire Zach Whitecloud for their low price of their own 2028 first round pick?
Could you imagine? Oh my God.
That would be a Craig
Conroy. That would be a Craig Conroy masterclass if that were to happen.
He was a good fit.
For sure.
Yeah, holy smokes. Flames have come out quite well out of all of this. It is quite good. That is our Vegas Golden Knights draft pick check-in. And of course, they've received other picks from Vegas. I mean, they received a 2028 second round pick from the Vegas Golden Knights. We don't know how that's going to turn out. They, of course, have Vegas's own 2027 first round pick. They had Vegas's 2025 third round pick, 2024 third round pick, which they used to pick Kirill Zarubin. So the gifts from Vegas just keep on coming, and it wouldn't feel like an NHL draft without one. So,
and honestly, Mike, as the days go by here, it just feels like all these trades that Craig Conroy has made just continue to look better and better and better and better. At the time, like we saw, especially for the Rasmus Andersson trade, we saw a lot of criticism, which I thought was deeply unfair.
I thought it was BS.
Oh yeah, I don't think a lot of fans really understood what they were getting in Whitecloud. I don't think they understood that Rasmus Andersson was on just an absolute heater for the Flames that year, and the Flames took advantage of that. Like, I think Flames fans should be extremely happy with the job Craig Conroy has done so far, and whether it's the Jacob Markstrom trade, which is looking like an absolute home run, Kevin Ball, top 4 D-man for the next 6 or 7 years, Cole Reshny, and then you got the Lindholm trade with Brstevich and Gridin as the main 2 pieces. You kind of turn that into Frost and Farabee, and who knows what that's going to turn into. And then now you got the Anderson trade, the Uyghur trade, the Kadri trade. Like, it goes on and on and on and on. Like, it's just so impressive. And even like Mangiapane for a second round pick, brilliant. The guy can barely play in the NHL right now. Like, it's insane. He's doing such a good job.
Yeah, I think I really think you can look back at pretty much every one of Craig Conroy's trades. The only one that sticks out to me is the Nikita Ohotiuk deal. Just why'd they do that? But I think you can look back at pretty much every single one of his trades and at least go over the thought process and chart a relatively reasonable course for how it could turn out well for the Calgary Flames. You look at Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost and say, you know what? I think there's a very good chance the Flames could move one of those guys for more than they gave up to get both of them.
Yeah.
You look at Nikita Zadorov, trading him for a third-round pick, and say, well, you know what? That's going to be the very best third-round pick there is this year. And, lots of defensemen have been bandied about for piddling little returns. The Flames got arguably better defensemen in Zach Whitecloud and Oli Matta essentially for free, and they could do what they did with Zadorov. You can look at Toffoli and say, well, you know what? Adar Suniev has 15 goals in the American League as a first-year pro. And Yegor, love him or hate him, is still a guy who will get you basically 15 or 20 goals a year. So you know what? That's basically what they already have with Toffoli. Maybe in a couple of years you can trade him. So, you can look at all these and say there are no real clear-cut losses because even with Toffoli, New Jersey doesn't have him anymore. Vancouver, Lindholm is long gone. So is Zadorov. Mangiapane is long gone from Washington. New Jersey, Markstrom, that contract looking really problematic.
Lovely.
And the Flames are here saying, we got what we got. We're happy.
Even the Hanifin deal is starting to look pretty good because of where this first round pick is gonna be. The only one, like if we really had to nitpick trades, I mean, obviously the Hochuk one was awful. Was that a 5th or a 6th? I mean, it really doesn't matter.
It was the 5th they got from Vancouver for Zadorov.
So you might as well just lit that on fire. I don't know what the hell happened there. But if you really wanted to quibble with one deal, the Chris Tanev one still doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I am still shocked that they weren't able to get a first round pick for him because, all these hockey men, all these NHL GMs, Chris Tanev is like the ultimate hockey player. And I am just stunned that nobody stepped up. And, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think when they made the trade with Dallas, or no, he signed as a free agent with Toronto, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, but he's making big money. They signed him to that 5 or 6 year deal, making over $5 million a year. Like, that feels like a guy you'd give up a first round pick for. And Artem Grushnikov has not worked out. Seems to be a little bit of a train wreck down with the Wranglers. He's probably not going to be back in the organization next year. So that one is one you could probably nitpick. But aside from that, it's all been really, really good.
And by the same token, Tanev has kind of turned into the guy that people were afraid the Flames were getting when they signed him in the first place, where he is 36. He is signed until 2030, and he played in 11 games this year.
Totally.
And so, very much a rental for Dallas, a guy who was never going to be a long-term fix. And so you can sort of see it. Mm-hmm. So it's not, and they obviously, the second rounder they use on Battaglia, an okay prospect, actually had a killer game today for Flint. Turned it into Othman, a guy who will probably play games for them this year and could even be a regular next year, depending on how things shake out. So, it's
Othman and Grushnikov, does not sound like enough for a guy.
Not ideal. Not ideal. So that's probably the worst one when all is said and done. But ultimately, even if that's your worst one, that's probably still a C+.
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
And I think all the rest are at least a B- and more than that in all likelihood. So you got to be at least pretty happy. And if you're me, very happy. So that's a look at all that stuff. Speaking of prospects, we want to sort of wrap this up with a look at what transpired in the NCAA today, because we are seeing Flames prospects abound in the NCAA D1 hockey bracket. We are down to the final 8. Well, we're almost down to the final 8. We will be down to the final 8 after tomorrow's action, but we have trimmed the bracket by 4 teams today. UConn is done. Dartmouth is gone. Merrimack is gone. Providence is gone. That takes one Flames prospect off the board. Trevor Hoskin and Merrimack, after a real Cinderella run in their conference playoffs, losing today to 3 Flames prospects with North Dakota. Cole Reshny, Cade Littler, and Abram Weeb not getting any points in the win for Nodak. But they move on to play the Quinnipiac Bobcats, who defeated Providence College 5-2. Ethan Wyttenbach gets the empty net goal for Quinnipiac to make it a 4-2 game. They added another empty netter thanks to Graham Sword. A 5-2 win on Saturday. Bobby, it is Nodak. It is Quinnipiac. We're super excited. Will Ethan Wyttenbach become the first player in Quinnipiac program history to score 60 points in the season? He tied Colin Graff's record tonight with his 59th. Or will it be Nodak punching their ticket to the Frozen Four?
I watched Quinnipiac today and basically just was watching Ethan Wyttenbach, and it was my first time watching them this season. And, you could see why he led the NCAA in scoring. You could see why he's one of the nominees for the Hobie Baker Award. There were a few times when he was super dynamic, really made high-end plays. There was one play where, he read that a puck was coming around the boards behind the net, went in there, intercepted it, and then immediately within a second got it back out into the slot, right onto his teammate's tape for an incredible opportunity. It reminded me of a Johnny Gaudreau type of play. It was super impressive. So one thing I hope we see is that Wyttenbach doesn't get beat to hell, because today the amount of cross checks he took, the amount of slashes and hits, he got his ass kicked today. And I think that was Providence's goal. I think it was one of their strategies today was to really go after Wyttenbach, and they did kind of take him out of it for the most part. But yeah, Saturday's going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch. I'm not a huge NCAA guy, so I really don't know who has the advantage out of these two teams. I know Nodak plays in a better conference, but it should be a lot of fun. How do you think it's going to play out?
I think Quinnipiac's going to win. I think they've got the juice. I think Rand Pecknold's, as much as I have sort of earlier in the season said that Quinnipiac maybe not an ideal place for a guy like Wyttenbach, I think he has turned my perception of that quite on its head. I think we have seen Quinnipiac go on crazy runs at these tournaments before. They beat Minnesota in the championship game 3 years ago. And I think this is going to be Quinnipiac going on a real heater again. Ethan Wyttenbach is a top 10 finalist for the Hobie Baker Award. And it was funny. We're starting to see the campaigning. We got through Oscars season. Now we're into Hobie Baker season. And Penn State University today, they are also in the NCAA tournament. They play Minnesota Duluth tomorrow. They have a Hobey Baker candidate named Gavin McKenna. And of course, Gavin McKenna might go first overall, probably will go first overall in this year's draft. And also one of the top scorers in the nation. Wyttenbach right now has 59 points in the NCAA. Well, McKenna has 51. And if you listen to Penn State talk about it, all points might not be created equal.
Picture this. The other freshmen in the Hobey Baker conversation scored 13 points against teams ranked 54th, 58th, 59th, and 61st out of 63 programs in college hockey. Nearly 1 in 4 of his points against the bottom 10% of the sport. Gavin McKenna, 1.58 points per game in the Big Ten.
So it's like an attack ad. It's like a hit piece being put out by Penn State. But I just want to say this. And also, I do love the little screenshot where they have like Wyttenbach's name at the very top and like the faintest possible lettering. But here's one thing. It's correct. It's absolutely true. Ethan Wyttenbach scored 13 points this year against RPI, against Yale, against Brown, against St. Lawrence. It's absolutely true. It's also true that Gavin McKenna scored 12 points in total against Stonehill and Notre Dame, who are respectively ranked 57 and 51. And that is actually a greater percentage of his overall scoring. He also scored a total of 11 points against number 42 ranked Long Island University, number 41 ranked ASU, and number 39 ranked Minnesota. The Gophers were horrible this year. So, Ethan Wyttenbach racked up a lot of points against Rensselaer and against St. Lawrence, but Gavin, come on. I mean, we're all sort of on the same on the same plane here.
Don't come after our boy Ethan Wyttenbach. Mike Gould's going to come after you.
I thought that was just so interesting. You could have,
dude. I think you missed your calling. I think you should have become an agent or an advisor. Like you would have been great at that job. What are you doing here?
I think Ethan Wyttenbach's agents and I are mutuals on Twitter. I might DM them. I posted a tweet about this, and Quinnipiac men's hockey liked the tweet. I replied because Penn State put out this video. They put out a video that is like over 3 minutes long, almost 4 minutes long, which is basically just sort of hyping up McKenna, which is totally fine. Totally fine. But I like McKenna great. I think he's going to be a great player. I would love the Flames to get him. But this is different turf, right? This is college on college. It's Flames prospect against undrafted prospect. And yeah, I mean, I think the video that they posted, which again is almost 4 minutes long, would have been exactly as persuasive without wading into that territory. Mm-hmm. You don't need to punch down on another candidate for the Hobey Baker. And it's worth noting as well, Ethan Wyttenbach, the only other Hobey Baker candidate who was specifically singled out by Penn State in that video, which to me suggests that they know who maybe their biggest competition is.
100%.
Like that's,
I love it.
I mean, there's some other very good players who are up for the Hobey Baker, man. The James Hagens is up for the Hobey Baker. Yeah, he's a top 10 NHL draft pick. Martone's not. Martone was
snubbed. Which is actually surprising. I actually think he should have.
Michael Hage was snubbed, but yeah, like it's kind of. I mean, if that's not maybe a feather in Ethan Wyttenbach's cap that Gavin McKenna and Penn State are throwing some shade, that's maybe got to feel a little good.
Yeah, you're right. It felt like an American political ad.
It really did.
Yeah. 100%.
It was like the sort of thing you'd see on like a CBS affiliate at like 1 a.m. in a hotel room. It's like, it comes on and it's like, this person's not tough enough on crime. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's scary.
This person's cutting funding from schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a jerk.
Yeah. New York
vote take away your guns.
New York voters don't like that Ethan Wyttenbach pledged to decrease funding for milk for children in schools. Vote for Gavin McKenna. He'd vote for you. Anyway, that's just kind of funny. I just saw that.
One thing I tweeted this today. I watched that ESPN feature on Ethan Wyttenbach where they talked to him for like 4 minutes, and I cannot believe the similarities between him and Johnny Gaudreau. It's actually pretty crazy. Just in terms of both late round picks, Gaudreau 4th, Ethan Wyttenbach 5th round. both smaller guys, both highly skilled, both nominated. And, Johnny ended up winning the Hobie Baker. Ethan Wyttenbach might win it this year. Both their dads run hockey rinks in their local communities. Both players grew up literally living at those rinks, and then also on top of that, Wyttenbach won the Gaudreau Award in the USHL for the player who represents the core values of the Gaudreau brothers. And I can't believe it. I can't believe just like how similar they are. Like it's pretty wild. It's almost like a little serendipitous, or it's like meant to be that Ethan Wyttenbach's going to be a Calgary Flame,
Oh, he will be. I know, there are people out there who might be worried that, a Long Island kid, you never know. No, don't be worried.
I'm not worried.
I got it on good authority. Michigan Bentley tomorrow, as well as Minnesota Duluth and Penn State. Luke Misa with Penn State, of course, as well as Gavin McGregor, McKenna. That's right. And then also tomorrow, Western Michigan against Minnesota State, and then Denver against Cornell. That's Jonathan Castagna going up against Eric Jameson. Wouldn't it be nice if it's just, 5 years down the line? It's like, hey, remember when both Wyttenbach and McKenna were up for the Hobie Baker? Hey, they're on the same line now. We'll see. But it's more fun if you sort of lean.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah. And you know what, Bobby? When I go watch the Frozen Four, when that finally comes to fruition, which I think they wait like 2 weeks for it to finally happen. It's not until February 9th. I wish it was February. April 9th. Once these regionals are finished, we won't see the Frozen Four until until April the 9th. April the 9th is the semis, and April the 11th is the national championship. And I'll tell you, when that happens, I'll be down to the Unicorn, Bobby. I will be down watching all this go down in real time. Will it be Ethan Wyttenbach? Will it be Cole Reshny? Will it be Luke Misa? Remains to be seen. But either way, Unicorn has you covered. 223 8th Ave Southwest, 1919 4th Street Southwest. They got game day, $7 pints of Molson Canadian, as well as, of course, Golden Tea and Buck Hunter. You don't want to miss out on heading down to the Unicorn. Love this comment from Phoenix Rising Flame. Wyttenbach is big enough now to have haters. He's made it. That's fantastic. It's just fantastic stuff.
Now, if Wyttenbach and McKenna are going to play against each other, it's going to come in the championship.
Yeah.
So let's hope both these teams can get through. That would be a pretty incredible head-to-head matchup, and just watch Wyttenbach run Gav McKenna's show.
Well, and it wasn't long ago, Bobby, that we saw Quinnipiac go up against Minnesota in the final, and it was Colin Graff, a relatively unheralded kid, going up against the dynamite line of Logan Cooley, Matthew Nyes, and Jimmy Snuggerud. And in the end, it was Quinnipiac that came out on top. So we shall see how exactly things play out from here. Bobby, we do have a couple of super chats that we want to get to on this fine Thursday evening. Feel free to get in your super chats. Beat the buzzer on this Thursday. Get them in while they're hot. Shrimp on the Bobby with a couple of dollary dues saying, what's Gridin's goal total at current rate across 82? I believe it's like 25, something like that. He's got 5 goals now. He's on pace for exactly 40 points. It's less than 25. It's 5 divided by 28 times 82, 15.
Yeah, right, 15.
But it's he's on pace for 40 points. He's scoring some goals. He's playing well.
And I find when you're 19 or 20 years old and you're in the NHL, I usually think it takes around 30 to 40 games for you to like really get your feet underneath you and get used to the speed and the pace of the game. Gridin's done that in probably 15 games. Like his development has accelerated at the NHL level a lot more. Like you take a look at Sam Honzek this year, I would say it took him a while to like truly get going and start to put up some points and start to look more comfortable as an NHLer. But with Gridin, I'd say probably took him 15 games to kind of get used to the NHL. And ever since then, he's just been fantastic. So, good on him.
Well, and going back to my earlier comp, Bobby, Dylan Gunther, his D+2 season with the Yotes, he was ineligible to play in the A at that point, played in 33 games, scored 6 goals, 15 points, sort of got spot duty, sort of like Matt Gridin a little bit. Goes back to Seattle to finish that year, wins the WHL championship. Great year with Seattle. Goes back into the NHL the next year, starts in Tucson, okay? Because Gridin's got him beat a little bit. He was able to play in the AHL already. goes to Tucson, dominates 28 points, 29 games, comes back up, has 18 goals in 45 games to finish that year. Next year, 27 goals. This year, 36. Okay. So, that's the sort of progression that you're maybe hoping for with a Matt Gridin, ideally. And, doing it at this level, at this age, is just uncommon. It really is common. So super exciting. And we're hoping for more to come. More super chats. Keep them coming. Maskman2929. Will Zary play again this year? And then ruck updates. Maybe you handle Zary, Bobby, and I'll get onto the rucks.
Zary, I believe he's been skating. Has he? I actually don't even know.
I think he is.
If it were up to me,
I don't think he is.
If it were up to me, I'd shut him down for the rest of the year, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets back in, maybe in like the last couple home games of the season or something like that. There's no need to rush him back.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. They were having a tough time finding space for him even before he got hurt. And now it's, I don't know. You want to see him, obviously, but it's tough. It's tough to find these places for guys to play as it stands, and you want to make room for the Othmans and the Sunievs. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we didn't even mention Zary earlier, talking about all the different guys who are already taking spots. Yeah, and there's so many who you have to consider. So, yeah. And as for the rucks, Marcus ended up leading the entire CHL in scoring this year, which is funny because Marcus is, kind of the guy who people say is maybe the lesser of the two. But he ended up with 108 points in 68 games. My expectation is that Marcus is going to go in the first round. I mean, if you look at most of the rankings, Liam Ruck, who had 45 goals this year, is viewed as being sort of a 15 to 25 first round pick. And Ruck, Marcus Ruck, is like viewed as a late second rounder. And a lot of places don't even have him ranked. And on that, I call BS. I think there are going to be teams that want both these guys that say, we're going to take Liam and Marcus at 15 and 16, and we are going to figure out how we do it. And the Flames may very well be that team.
They got the picks to do it.
They got the picks to do it. So they are, two of the top scorers in the entire CHL. And I think one way or another, they're going to end up on the same team. They do everything together. They want to be together. And I think some team is going to fulfill that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Craig Button had Liam Ruck at 10 and Marcus at 12 on his latest rankings, which is very high. Like, I don't think I've seen anybody else have him that high, but gives you an idea of how they're climbing up draft boards all over the place right now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that changes when we see other lists coming out, because as it stands, for much of the year, scouts have been ranking Liam and they have not been ranking Marcus, which to me is a little strange. It's a little too based in previous biases to me. You have to look at what the latest track record is. And the track record right now is that both of them deserve to be drafted in the first round. Yeah. But it's tough when there's no Bob McKenzie list, because all the lists so far we're seeing are sort of everybody's take. And Bob has always been sort of the prediction of how it will happen. And so maybe we'll see it from another source. Maybe it'll emerge. More super chats. We got two more. 3 to 6 in this draft. Think we'd still get a prospect with a higher ceiling than any of the current youngins. Bobby, what do you think?
Ooh, probably. I mean, if we're going to talk about ceilings, I'd say Matt Gridin might have the highest ceiling right now. Probably either him or Ethan Wyttenbach. You might throw Zayne Perek in that mix too. So yeah, picks 3 through 6. If you could get a Carson Carls or a Chase Reed, I mean, those guys seem like legit number one defensemen in the future. Ivar Stenberg, if you can get him in that kind of range, he looks like he could be maybe a point per game winger. So I would say yes, but with a question mark. I'm not totally sure of that, because I mean, like we've been talking about tonight, Gridin's upside and Wyttenbach's upside, it's very high. So yeah, I'm not totally sure, to be totally honest.
I'm heating up on Vigo, man. I'm heating up on Vigo. He's the Aragorn. We're going to get the Aragorn, although, maybe he's more like the Gimli because he's a little bit shorter, but, Viggo Mortensen, Aragorn, you sort of get what I'm laying down,
I got nothing.
Hey, maybe you can call Yegor Sharangovich Legolas. Yeah.
And with that, we'll end the stream.
One more super chat. Samson 2848. If you didn't get it, it's because Yegor Sharangovich likes to play with Legos. Yeah. Flames are picking number 3 overall. McKenna Ivar gone. Who is GM Bobby G picking 3rd overall? We all know who Mike would be taking. Go Flames, go. Go ahead, Bobby.
Oh man, so I haven't done a ton of research into this draft so far, so I might not be the best person to ask at this moment in time, but as of right now, I'd be probably leaning towards Carson Karls. I know that's where you're going, probably, Mike. But I just like the fact that he's a left shot D, and just you watch his film and just watch some of his highlights. This guy is so dynamic, and I think he and a guy like Zayne Perek, they could be on like a really good pair together. Even him and Verstevich could be a good pair together. So I'd probably say I'd be leaning towards Carson Karls right now. And the Flames, they are missing that number 1 defenseman, because I don't think Perek is that guy. I think if they want to get their Doughty, their Quinn Hughes, their Cale Makar, that type of defenseman, I think they still need to find that player. And maybe that's Verhoff, maybe that's Chase Reed, Carson Karls. I don't know who it's going to be, but they need to hit a home run if they were to pick in that area.
They do. Yeah, I'm really thinking Vigo at this point, which is crazy. I didn't think I was going to get there. And I'm probably going to flip flop on this 10 more times before we get to the draft.
Hey, they desperately need centers. So yeah, I'd have no issue with that.
I'm really starting to think that, but I am a huge Carson Karls guy. This is weird. I said on a recent show, I compared him to Jake Sanderson. I actually recently learned after I said that he models his own game against Jake Sanderson, which is kind of fun. And people on Twitter were really mad about that. I don't know why. They did not like that prediction.
Fantastic.
I know.
Sanderson's
they were like
a stud.
Well, they thought I was like, I was maybe overrating him a bit, but I think I still stand by it. I really think you can't go wrong. Keaton Verhoff is interesting to me. I don't know how I feel. I kind of feel a little Zach Bogosian-y about him. I don't know. So I think I think it will really all shape up in the next couple months. Obviously, we will get our own draft experts on the show. We'll talk to Stephen Ellis. We'll talk to Byron Bader. We'll talk to a bunch of other folks. But for now, Karls, Bjork, I am of both minds. So that's how I feel about that. I think that's all of our super chats, Bobby. Before we head off, we want to let the folks know that there are almost exactly 3 months until the draft now. And here's the thing. April, we don't know what April will be like. We don't know what May will be like. We don't know what June will be like, but we do know one thing, and that is that March is truck month over at GMC. And if you're looking for a monster of a truck, the 2026 Sierra 1500 Pro Graphite Crew Cab is built to stand out and is now available at 0% financing for 72 months. It's got a 2-inch factory lift with off-road suspension and a 5.3-liter V8 engine that delivers the kind of power you actually feel when you hit the gas. And during truck month, you can head down to the store, take it for a spin, and see what it can do for you. That just sort of speaks for itself, Bobby.
The GMC Sierra is a beautiful truck. It is gorgeous.
When you said that, Bobby, are you familiar with the Broadway musical Cats?
Familiar, haven't seen it.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the Rum Tum Tugger.
That I am not.
Oh, you're not? Oh, boy. Well, to paraphrase, the GMC Sierra is a fabulous truck. If you've seen Cats, you know what I just said.
I'd be on the floor just dying right now.
You'd just be, Space Cow's not impressed. The Space Cow is probably more of a Skimbleshanks the Railway Cat fan. Or a fan of Rumple Teaser and Jenny Anydots, but the GMC Sierra is a fabulous truck. There you go. Boy, it's 11:24 on a Thursday. This has been a great show, Bobby. The Calgary Flames, they lose to the Anaheim Ducks. Do you got any sort of last sort of random thoughts, sort of rattling around in that skull of yours, Bobby?
I think once you bring up a cat reference or Cats reference.
It's Cats.
Cats, yeah, I think that's time to end it.
Jack?
I agree. What are you talking about?
Are you a Cats? Well, here before we go off, now that you've weighed in, I need to know.
Oh my God,
Jack, what is your level of familiarity with Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats?
Is it like a play?
Is it like a play? maybe the highest grossing play of all time. Yeah, it was on Broadway.
Okay, and then they made a movie of it like recently, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you not see the Judi Dench cat?
No,
Like,
I haven't seen any of this.
Taylor Swift was in it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is
Well,
it
I'll
worth
tell
a
ya.
watch?
Huh?
Is it worth the watch?
Oh, I got 3 words for you, Jack. Digital fur technology.
Sounds hot.
Digital fur technology. The Calgary Flames lose to the Anaheim Ducks. Maybe tonight they should be the Anaheim Cats. 3-2, the final score in overtime. One more game left on this homestand. And for all of you out there, my name is Mike Gould, along with Bobby Germany, Robert Munich. For all of our sponsors, thank you so much for tuning in on this edition of the Afterburner. Meow.